This is Baja SAE Shop Talk, the official podcast of the Baja SAE series. Hey guys, welcome to the podcast, and I guess this is officially the new season starting off here with this. I'm Mike Sorg, the video and podcast producer you see around the events here and hear the voice of for the CDS series with SAE. And today we're getting ready for that new season, as I mentioned. And of course, with every new season, there's a few changes. And right out of the gate, the fun stuff is going to be registration. And that's what we're talking about with you guys today. So you can get all the tips. Make sure you're prepared and not caught off guard by these new changes that are looking to help everybody out. We have with us, we got a full complement here today in the studio. First, Ryan Good, the University Programs Coordinator for Formula SAE is with us. How you doing, Ryan?
How's it going, Mike?
Good, good. Jamie Knopf is here, University Program Coordinator for Auto Draft Challenge. How you doing?
I'm great, Mike. Thanks.
And Amanda here, University Programs Developer. How you doing, Amanda?
Thanks for having us.
So, like I said, there's a lot of changes going on with the registration for all of the competitions for the 2020 season. Ryan, talk to us about why these changes were made by SAE.
SAE actually implemented these changes, Mike, to help alleviate from potential server overload, and at the same time, this also will help with the stress of all these teams as they put 30 to 40 people at the computer trying to register for one competition. Now that's going to help pull away from that. As well, we want the opportunity for as many unique universities as possible to join these competitions. So we put in place some restrictions and that we're going to be speaking about today to help make sure that every university has the opportunity to enter the competition. As well, with one of the changes that were made is with Formula, as compared to Baja and Aero, Formula now are going to award their top 10 teams from the previous year's competitions to register for any competition which they place the top 10 in. So for example, previously, if a team registered in the top 10 for Michigan and the top 10 for Lincoln, they had to choose which competition they wanted to pre-register for. Now, with our new system, they can register for both of those competitions during that pre-registration window. So that's kind of the reason as to why we are doing these changes.
And you mentioned at the beginning the stress in the server overload, which of course was very stressful, I'm sure, on the SAE side of things. That we've done the live streams for those, with the kids in there, and it is the best worst thing for them that day, it feels.
Oh, it really is. I mean, these competitions, some of them fill up within a minute and a half. So they're all sitting there waiting for that 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to occur. And as soon as that happens, all 30 clicks are happening at the same time, rushing through that process. So this is really going to help out with that.
And this is a situation that's been developing for years. I know since I've been working with you guys, being there for those sign-up days, the registration days, and watching that window get shorter and shorter every year, right? So, this is really kind of a response to the demand the competitions have had.
Yeah, when I started 6 years ago. We did all registrations on the same day, and that was crazy. We shut down the server every year. It was really intense. It was a big deal around SAE and the IT department. And then a few years ago, we switched to having each series register on different days. That seemed to help a little bit. We worked really hard with the IT team to simplify the registration process as much as possible so that it took teams a shorter amount of time to get in, get registered, and get off so another team could get in there. We've captured all of the benefits that we have there, and now this just happened to be the right time with the philosophical shift to allowing as many unique universities in as possible. So the technology piece is really just an added benefit of the philosophical piece, but ultimately I think it makes a better day for everyone if no one is setting off the SAE, DDoS alarms. So.
That was the thing. This was so bad that, and we've talked about this on previous registration podcasts, that it all hits the servers and shuts down like all the computers in the entire office. Yeah. Because it looks like an attack because it's being quote air quotes attacked by all of you guys trying to register at once from all over the country and the world. So that's a very interesting issue that you guys have been working through here.
And then the other side effect of what we are implementing this year is going to be potentially the Sellout Times, which we've really touted in the last few years as a really cool stat and metric for how quickly we can sell out. There's a chance we don't sell out some competitions that were being sold out for the last few years. So that's something else that is maybe it doesn't feel as cool, except now that means that every team that wants to compete in a competition has an opportunity to get on the registered team list before that second wave of registrations opens, which ultimately that's what we're looking for.
So ideally, I want to see a lot more in different schools when we go to competition in 2020.
Absolutely.
Across the board. I like that. All right, let's get into the details of this. So what are the new dates for registration that we're looking at?
Pre-registration is going to open at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on October 7th. That will run through October 14th. Ryan's going to give a little more detail on each competition. But after pre-registration closes on October 14th, we have window 1 that will open October 14th through October 28th. So October 14th, that'll open at 10 a.m. and it'll close October 28th at 11:59 p.m. Window 2 will open October 28th at 10 a.m. and close November 27th at 11:59 p.m. And then, finally, November 27th will be the final deadline for fees and all registration. Again, that closes at 11:59 p.m.
So what Jamie just gave you was the general registration information. Now we're going to break this down for the Baja SAE. So Baja SAE will open up Tuesday. Pre-registration for Baja will open up Monday, October 7th at 8 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time and will close at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Monday, October 14th. Registration for Baja will open Tuesday, October 15th at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and will close on Monday, October 28th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Registration window 2 will open 2 weeks later on Tuesday, October 29th at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it will close Wednesday, November 27th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On November 27th at 11:59 p.m., all registration fees must be paid, and there will be no opportunity for any teams to register for any competitions at this point.
Excellent. And as we're going through this process here, who do we contact and have general chat with? Do we have any issues with this process going forward?
So the general chat can go to collegiatecompetitions@sae.org. The university program coordinators are answering any emails in which you guys are sending there. We've had a few come through so far about the news posts, and we've been able to kind of clear those up.
All right, let's get specific with Baja then. Tell us what pre-registration process is going to look like for them.
So Baja's pre-registration will be October 7th through October 14th, beginning at 8 a.m. If a university placed in the top 10 in multiple events won a pre-registration pass or a 2019 on-site raffle, they can pre-register for multiple events.
So what that means is if they are typically a team that has gone to 3 competitions in the past, they will not be able to register for that third competition during pre-reg, obviously, if they didn't place in that top 10 for that competition, which kicks that registration to window 2. This is going to be really important for teams to think strategically about, more so in Baja than any other competition, because of that restriction. So just be really thoughtful about how you guys are going to go about registering for which pre-reg competitions.
Then when we get to window 1 for registration, what is that going to look like for Baja?
So window 1 for Baja is going to be any teams that did not get an on-site raffle and they did not place in the top 10 at any of the 3 competitions. This also could be an opportunity for those who forego their pre-registration opportunities. So one thing that you guys will also want to keep in mind is you have one opportunity here. You can register for one of the 3 competitions. Something to keep in mind, as Amanda was saying earlier about being strategic, is if you do register for a competition that has a wait list already established and your team ends up on that wait list, that is your one registration spot. So you are still technically not on an active roster at this time or an active teams list at this time. And you will have to wait until window 2 to potentially be on a active list at that point.
So be pretty aware and strategic with how you're signing up in Window 1.
That is correct, because once you sign up for Window 1, whether you're a registered teams list or you are a waitlist team, that is your spot.
Yeah, this is going to come into play whenever there is a clear competition that is the most popular, the most sought after. This year, probably going to be Baja SAE, Illinois. It's always been a very popular competition, particularly because it's the June competition. So what that means is if Illinois is the one you really want to get into and you choose to get on the wait list, you cannot register for any other competitions during Window 1.
But they'll have plenty of chance in Window 2, right? So what's going to happen when we get to that?
So Window 2 is actually when they will have that opportunity. Window 2 will open up to all universities to register for as many competitions as they want. So once again, think strategically. Put yourself in one of the Baja SAE competitions that you and your team may believe is not going to fill up as quickly, and then wait for Window 2 to open up, and you can put yourself on a registered teams list, or you can even put yourself on the wait list. That's something to keep in mind as well.
We just aren't sure how the sellouts are going to break down this year. We know that there are not 300 universities competing for a slot at a Baja SAE competition. There's somewhere in the mid 200s. So that means there will be some slots open on that Window 2. It's just a matter of how many and where they're distributed. So make sure you get together with your team ahead of time to know exactly what your strategy is, what competitions you should be trying to register for in Window 1, and then have another meeting and talk about Window 2 when there are slots open.
So it's kind of like we moved the free-for-all rush to the second window, it seems.
Yes, a little bit, but we really feel confident that by getting 80% of the field already registered before that in a more controlled fashion, because, I mean, 3 or 4 years ago, we didn't even have pre-reg, right? So every team was coming in at Window 1. Now we have pre-reg, which is going to take a pretty decent chunk out. And now we have Window 1, which is going to restrict a lot of our series down to only having one team coming in per class, per competition. And then Window 2 will have some rush, but we think that it'll be pretty spread out.
So for Baja in the past, Brazil's always been a special circumstance, the way we bring in teams through their competitions and stuff. What's going on with India?
Yeah, so both Brazil and India this year will have a bit of a different registration process. So SAE International has made a cooperation agreement with SAE India and SAE Brazil to reserve spots for their top teams that participate in their local competitions. And then those teams will be invited to come and participate in one or more of the Baja SAE United States competitions. In the past, we've had Brazilian teams jump on the wait list after registration kind of closed so they can submit their document submissions. That is going to be a little bit different this year. So both Indian teams and Brazilian teams can register at the same period as any other team, particularly Window 1, I would assume. Although if you give it a few minutes, the craziness will die down and you'll be able to get into the server. What's going to happen once you register for that competition is it's actually going to put you in a holding tank wait list so that your information is saved. We have a contact information for your team. We know what your university name is. And from there, you'll still submit your documents just like you would normally. And if your team is chosen from your affiliate organization, you'll be promoted to the registered team list and replace the placeholder that we have for SAE Brazil. In the past, you remember there's been 3 SAE Brazil registrations. So that's all changing. It's going to be much simpler, much more seamless for you guys. Just get on that list, submit your documents, win your local competitions, and be on your way to the U.S.
That's simple.
Simple.
Excellent. Is there any more support that's going to be going on leading into these registration processes, Ryan?
So what we actually have currently is we have all this information out on our news feeds currently, and we also have it on our Facebook pages as well. If you do have any questions after hearing this podcast or after reading those news feeds, please feel free to reach out to us via email at collegiatecompetitions@sae.org. We'll be more than happy to answer any questions in which you currently have. On top of that, we are also working on a infographic that we're going to be able to share with teams at some point. And it's just going to be pictured of everything broken down, even in a simpler way. So we'll have pictures for the pre-registration process, we'll have pictures for the Window 1 process, and pictures for the Window 2 process. On top of that, we will also be hosting WebExes the week of September 22nd. We'll have one for Aero, we'll have one for Baja, and we'll also have one for Formula during that week period. If you check your CDS web pages, you'll also be able to find it on there as well. That kind of lays out the date and time in which we will be hosting these.
The most important part of this year is going to be prepared ahead of time with all the information you need. It will be a very smooth registration if you know what you're doing, but it could be painful if your team makes the wrong decision and then you realize the implications after the fact. So just make sure you get ahead of it. Like Ryan said, reach out and email us about your specific situation if you're confused. Particularly the pre-reg gets a little confusing about what happens in Window 1 and Window 2. So please reach out. We're here for you to answer any of those questions. Ryan and Jamie are going to be doing the WebExes, which is a really, really, really important. If you've never seen the registration screens, they're going to be running through the registration screens, the total process. And I feel like we haven't actually said this enough during the podcast, so please don't hit refresh. You will shut down the servers, and then no one will be able to register.
That is still an issue.
It's always going to be.
We are lightening the issue in the server load, but it is still a possibility. There's still a lot of you that are going to be jumping in there in Window 1.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, SAE is just not Amazon on Prime Day, right? They're not.
This is your Prime Day.
Yeah, it really is. And so there's no reason for a website like SAE to invest these massive server resources into literally 10 total minutes throughout the week. So
server load optimization is a very hard math problem to solve.
It really is. And the advice that we always have given on the Facebook Lives is that don't refresh. The button's going to automatically flip over to a Register Now button. When that happens, you can register. If you get stuck, then you can refresh. Wait for that button to flip. If it's after 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is also another really important note, make sure you have your time zones correct if you're not in Eastern time zone. Once that button flips over and you don't see it, it should have flipped over, it hasn't flipped over, then you can refresh. Don't do it leading up to 10 a.m. It just is going to shut it down for everyone.
Well, looking forward to see how this goes. Looking forward to see the hopefully a new variety of teams across all the competitions this year as we get out there in 2020. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Amanda, Ryan, and Jamie for joining me here and hashing through all the details and all these changes that we're having this year. And until next time, we'll see you guys out there. Please stay safe out there.
Thanks for listening to Baja SAE Shop Talk. As always, we want to hear from you, so email bajasae@sae.org. The show notes for this episode, as well as all others, can be found at www.bajasae.net/podcast. Stay safe, and we'll catch you next episode.